I got into the industry very, very young, actually, and not professionally, but I started trying to cut my own hair at about 10 years old because my mother took me to her beautician, and they would feather my hair, and like I had this curly, almost Velcro-ish hair that like it wouldn't do anything. So when Georgette, who was the beautician's name, got a hold of me, it was a downward spiral, and at that moment I realized that I had to do something fast. Moving into high school, I would cut everybody's hair on the basketball team, on the football team, and any woman that would let me put any type of crazy color I could get at Sally's Beauty Supply. I grew up in a traditional family that wouldn't necessarily, it was kind of frowned upon as far as me deciding to be a hairdresser. So my dad was an old school dude that like males weren't hairdressers, you know. So it wasn't until I was about 20 and working in a clothing boutique that a guy kept coming in, and like I just thought he was the coolest dude, and leather jacket, and he looked like Lenny Kravitz, and I was just like, man. Like one day I finally stopped him and I was like, hey, what band do you sing for? Like, what do you do? And he's like, I'm a hairdresser. And I was like, you're not gay? And he's like, dude, you don't have to be. And I was like, whoa. So I ran in the back and pulled out my Trapper Keeper of pictures that I had taken, like these like 35 millimeter pictures that I'd taken of like hair that I had done, like, and he laughed, and he was like, hey man, why don't you come inside and watch me do hair for a little bit? Maybe you could be a hairdresser. That was a huge barrier for me that was immediately crushed when I saw this guy and I got to work with him. The very next day I registered for school, I was off and running. The guy, I talked to him, 9 months later when I get out of school, and he goes, hey, I got something to tell you. I called the guy back and he goes, hey, I got something crazy to tell you. He goes, I'm totally gay. I was like, whoa. He goes, I knew that you probably would have became a hairdresser. I saw your work and I saw its potential, but you wouldn't have became a hairdresser that day. So to be welcomed into a community of such creative souls and passionate people and such lively people, like from top to the bottom, it's been special ever since. I really tried to create at the salon that I own in Scottsdale. I really tried to create an atmosphere where I would surround myself with people selfishly that inspired me. That's what I wanted, was to grow every day. I worked as hard as I could to handpick these stylists that would come and were hungry for the same things that I were, and to push the envelope, to be brilliant, to get better, to not just go throughout the day and do haircut A, B, and C and just be done and pay their bills. Cue Jenny Strebe coming into my life, and Confessions of a Hairstylist, and we teamed up and formed Braids and Balayage, and really, her and I together, along with joining the Butterfly Circus, I've really found a home, and there was frustrating times finding that, but I finally found a home and a crew, and everything's really fallen into place, and it's inspired. You can't not be inspired by these people that I'm surrounded by. The social media wave has hit so hard and continues to explode. You're able to get glimpses of hairdressers or even creative people that aren't hairdressers, and there's so much inspiration out there to be drawn from. So that's the coolest thing. Education-wise, taking my L'Oreal professional background into creating something new with Braids and Balayage, and even moving forward into the circus. And I make the joke at all the events. I go, okay, well, I'm going to show you these techniques that I've kind of developed, of course, from other hairdressers and training and everything, and this is what I've done. Now I'm gonna share it with you. Then I'm gonna watch you on social media as it evolves, and I'm gonna steal it back. So it's very cool because it continues to evolve. I decided to take it as an opportunity to really not only showcase like the technical skills and get technical skills back from other artists, but really to be a good example for other artists, young men especially, and create a situation where they could look up to and see, a family man that is creative and working hard and really doing things the right way. It's been great because I've actually gotten some very positive responses, of course from like technical stuff and people being very happy that I share, but also seeing like younger men that look up to me in that regard. My best advice would be, break it down from the ground up. Really always get as much education as you can. Things can get monotonous in any job, but continuing to learn, continuing to draw inspiration, and continuing to reinvent yourself as this industry does on a minute-by-minute basis at this point, then you can start getting into like how you present your work. You present your work, be proud of your work, stand behind it, and then you can kind of get into the tags and who you're gonna try and attract attention from. Also be yourself. Social media is so cool because it's a way to connect, but in a way it's also a way to separate yourself. So you can separate yourself from other artists just by being you. You be you and you do things your way, you stand behind it and be proud of the work that you've created if that's what you love, and don't stop. Just because social media moves so fast, and just because you see like this person is doing this and this, you can draw inspiration from that, but that doesn't mean it has to be exactly the same. Put your stamp on it, stand behind it, and be proud of your work.